Psalm 30, 11 to 12. You have turned for me my mourning into dancing. You have loosed my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness, that my glory may sing your praise and not be silent. O Lord, my God, I will give thanks to you forever. Good evening, NMEC family and friends. In behalf of New Millennium Evangelical Church Joyful Hope Counseling Ministry, I, Pastor Jean, welcome everyone to our Morning into Dancing webinar tonight. I just wonder how many of the participants tonight are going through a season of grief or loss. The loss may not only be pertaining to people we love, but may also include relationships, material, objects, pet, or whatever is precious to us. How then are you coping so far? Some of us may not personally experience loss at this time, but maybe you have friends and relatives who are and would probably need your support. It is for this reason that we are holding this seminar tonight, and we are thankful to God for blessing us with a speaker who has been greatly used by God in her various talks, as well as in the ministry of counseling, especially during this pandemic. Our speaker is none other than the most sought after counselor, author, motivational speaker, broadcaster, pastor, and most of all, kaibigan ng bayan. But before I turn over the time to Dr. Joyce, I just want to remind us two things. First, you may type your questions at the chat section below, and please limit your questions to the topics that will be discussed tonight so that we can accommodate all the questions that will be sent in. And the second one is, please, may I request everyone to remain muted during the entire duration of the webinar. Thank you for your cooperation. Dr. Joyce, take it away.
Good evening, Pastor Jean, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction, Zinzi. So maybe I should always bring you along wherever I go, huh? All right, let me share my screen right now. Let's see, advance. Oops, sorry. Oops, sorry. All right, this is it, okay? Mourning into dancing. Shall we bow down in a word of prayer, okay? Father in heaven, we give you praise and thanks for bringing each one of us here. We ask of you, Lord, that you quiet down our hearts, and may the blood of Jesus Christ cover each one of us here and cover all my preparations as well. This we pray in Jesus Christ's name. Amen and amen. All right, mourning into dancing. You know, this slide was given to me by a friend, and as I look at this slide, this was based on July 9, which was yesterday. There were about 5,881 new cases. Okay, that's already lower than the previous weeks. No, we have reached up to 7,000 plus, and even close to 8,000. But if you look at another slide, it says that as of July 9, as the COVID started, we already lost 25,720 people due to COVID. So you can imagine that there were 25,720 families who were mourning over their loved ones to COVID, no? And just as of yesterday, there were about 70 new deaths. Right now, it's hard to say that we don't know anyone who passed away due to COVID, no? There's always somebody that we knew, no? So if we look at it, there are many people who are grieving right now. But what is grieving? Or what is grief? When we look at what is grief, grief is a person's normal response when you lose someone or something important to you. No? Again, here it says losing someone or something important to you, because grief is not only related to people, losing people, but grief could also be about something important to you. So, what are the different reasons why people grieve? Of course, the most common one is death of a loved one. And then we also have death of a pet, no? Like my counselee, he lost three goldfish and he was really sad. So because he was so attached with the pet, so he was really grieving and crying, no? It could be a loss or change in a relationship. For example, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and they lost a relationship, maybe a husband and wife, and they fought and they went separate ways. It could also be a loss and change in your health or health of a loved one, a family member who got cancer, a family member who is terminally ill. You could also experience grieving. And then there is also the loss or change in financial security, like losing a job. Like in this pandemic, there were a lot of people who lost their businesses as well too. No, that could also be a reason for grief. And then we also have loss or change in your way of life. You used to be working, now you are retired. So this is also a form of grieving as well too. But what is grief? No? What is grief? Grief describes the physical and the psychological responses you feel. In other words, grief can affect your body, it can affect your mind, and it can affect your emotions. And if we look at it into it deeper, what is it? When we talk about physical reactions of grief, it can include like you will have sleeping problems, you will have changes in appetite, you don't feel like eating, or perhaps you ate too much. You will have other physical problems or illnesses, sakit dito, sakit doon, no? And these are what we call physical reactions. On top of the physical reactions, there are also emotional reactions. What are these? These include anger. Anger is a dominant one when you go through grieving. You're angry with a lot of things. You're angry with the doctors. We are angry with other people, and we will talk more about that. And it can also include guilt, anxiety, sadness, and even despair. But when we talk about grief, we would always refer back to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Elizabeth is a Swiss American psychiatrist, and she's also an author on death and dying. Why is she a go to person when it comes to grief? It is because she has an extensive research with terminally ill patients. And she noticed that when people is going to pass away, the relatives will go through 5 stages of grief. And they call it the Kubler-Ross model. So, what are these 5 stages of grief or loss that people will have to go through? So you try to observe yourself if you're going through grieving, and you try to observe the people who are close to you that are going through the grieving process as well too. And so it is you can use an acronym called DUBD. Okay, so it starts with D, denial. Denial is a conscious or unconscious refusal to accept facts and information. In other words, when you receive the news that your family member passed away, you will be in a state of shock. No, you can't believe it. He was just okay yesterday. Why did it happen? But why do we have this state of shock? It is because our body is trying to avoid the pain. And so this becomes a defense mechanism to protect your emotions. It works similarly with our cars. Our cars have shock absorbers. Why? It is to protect your car from getting ruined or having that big bump or hit, right? So it's the same thing with our emotions. It serves as a defense mechanism to protect our emotions. You can also help if your friend is going through this denial stage, you can help them face it by being available for them to talk instead of facing them to talk about it, instead of forcing them to talk about it. So denial is usually the first stage. What is the second stage? The second stage is anger. Anger can manifest in different ways. Others could be angry with themselves, like, for example, I should have done something, I should have spent more time with them, I should have. You are blaming yourself. Others could also blame others. Sana, you should have brought them to the hospital quicker. Sana, you should have done this. Or maybe the doctor should have done this. You could blame others in your anger. You could also ask the question, why me? Especially when you have a loved one who is sick, or probably your business lost a substantial amount of money at this time. You ask the question, why me? It's not fair. But this is all part of anger. And then there is also the outpouring of bottled up emotions like frustration. So when I hear of somebody, a loved one who is sick, it is not far off that people or family members will have a fight. Why? Because emotions are all very high and people get easily angry as well too. So if you have people who are angry, try not to take it personally. Allow them to express themselves so they can move on in this grieving process. Try to extend more of your understanding, more of your patience to them as well, because everyone is just emotionally high and full of anger. So, aside from denial, aside from anger, what is another stage? Another stage is what we call bargaining. It's bargaining with God, it's bargaining with friends, it's bargaining with your girlfriend, bargaining with someone. It's bargaining. It is also this time when you answer the questions, what if? What if I did this? What if I did not do this? What if? Bargaining. In this stage, it's trying to seek for a solution. But this is something that we all have to go through because we wanted the event not to happen. So we need to have these questions within ourselves or within our friends or family. Another stage that people normally go through in Kubler-Ross stages of grief is depression. Depression means to say the full impact of the loss is already experienced, and the feelings of emptiness, sadness, and hopelessness are very, very strong. And you don't want to be around with others at this time. You probably want to be alone. You don't want probably to talk a lot. You don't feel like doing anything. Why? Because you're depressed, and this is a time of disengagement from all association with the lost entity. In other words, this is the time wherein you feel this is it. There's no turning back. This is really happening. And that is the reason why you go through depression. But the last stage, when we talk about the grieving process, is acceptance. Acceptance means you finally learn to accept and deal with the reality. Acceptance does not necessarily mean instant happiness, but acceptance means a sense of peace that this is it. And when you come to this stage of acceptance, there are good days and there are also bad days, which means to say there are days that you're able to accept it better, do your things better, but there are days that you will just end up crying more. So, this is really part of the grieving process. But in this stage, we're trying to find a way to move forward, to go forward with life as well. So, if you look at these five stages of grief, it starts from denial to anger to depression to bargaining and to acceptance. But in reality, the stages jump from one stage to another. It can go from denial to anger to bargaining to depression, back to bargaining, back to anger. But no matter where you go, you need to go through the last stage, which is the acceptance stage, before you can move on with this process. According to Kubler-Ross and Kessler, they said grief is the reflection of the connection loss. In other words, this connection loss does not mean to say you have to be biologically connected in order for you to grieve. We grieve over our friends whom we lost. And there are some children who do not grieve over the loss of their parents as well too. So grief is really the connection that you have, how close you are as well. And then they went on to say, we think we wanted to avoid the grief, but really it is the pain of the loss we want to avoid. But grief is the healing process that ultimately brings us comfort in our pain. So it's so hard to have a shortcut when it comes to grieving process. It is really something that we have to go through from one stage to the other. But when we talk about grieving, how long does grief last? Do you have a wild guess on how long it lasts? The length is really different from person to person. Everyone is unique, everyone is different. So you cannot tell other people, I was grieving only for 6 months, so it's expected that you should be over by 6 months as well. No, there's no such rule, no? Everyone is different. But when we talk about average, no, according to research, average grieving period is between 6 months to 2 years. No, that's why I always tell boyfriends and girlfriends, if you go or part ways, no, please have yourselves up to 6 months. No, 6 months of no boyfriend and girlfriend, and try to just focus yourselves in being quiet before the Lord. So no relationship in 6 months. And then uh, it can, average grieving can extend up to 2 years. No, it's surprising to know that it is 2 years. No, in Chinese we have what we call samzai, and samzai is the number of years that we grieve. No, for the Chinese. No, and samzai means 2 full years. So probably our forefathers know or have observed that it will take about 2 years for someone to be more or less being able to be at peace and really move forward. So, what are the ways that we can improve our grieving, no? Or what's the path to improve your well being when you are going through grief and loss? One is that you can express your feelings. How do you express your feelings? You talk about how you are feeling with others. Of course, these others means to say people that you trust, people that are close to you. And brothers and sisters, if you are chosen to be that person that they express their feelings to you, I hope that you keep everything confidential as well. Because there might be things that they have said angrily at that particular moment, but they don't really mean to disseminate the news as well too. So try to be a listening ear to them, but yet at the same time keep it confidential. Another way is find a creative way to let your feelings out. No, so how can you do it? There are also many other ways. You probably would want to write it on a journal. Probably others would want to be involved in planting or becoming a plantita. You can also do that as well too. Others would do it in a painting. You can also do that. Whatever way that will let your feelings out in different creative ways. I have a client right now going through a lot of grieving. And so what did she do? She wrote a lot of poems, no? And I really like her poems, not? It's beautifully written, and she didn't even know that she can write that well, no? Until now. So just feel your loss. No? How do we do this? Allow yourself to cry, to feel numb, and to be angry. I just hope that when you are angry, you do not vent it out the wrong way, or you do not end relationships or end many relationships, no? Because that would be difficult as well. Just allow yourself to know that you are angry, you are upset, you wanted to cry. And we should also let these people cry and allow ourselves to be a shoulder to cry on as well too. What else? How are some of the ways that we can improve our well-being? You need to attend to your physical needs, and that is something very, very important. Like how? Make sure that you have enough sleep. Make sure that you eat a balanced diet. Do not think because you know you're grieving, so you watch a marathon of Korean telenovelas until 5 o'clock in the morning. That would not be very helpful because it will cause you more stress. Having no sleep will increase your anxiety as well. Eating a balanced diet would also be healthy. Exercise regularly would also be good for you because we know that if you regularly exercise, then it will increase your endorphins, which is a happy hormones rather than releasing the stress hormones. And if you can, try to go back to your routine as soon as possible. How? Get back into your normal routine as you can, as soon as you can. If you used to be working, try to go back to your work. If you used to be driving your children to school, then you drive them to school. In other words, you try to go back to the normal life, no? Don't delay it too much. Of course, it is allowable that you want to have probably 1 or 2 weeks break or probably 1 month leave. You can do so. But if you can get back to your normal routine, you can try to do it because if you go back to your normalcy of life, then things will become more normal for you and your family members as well. What other things that you can do to improve your well-being? Try to maintain your hobbies and interests. If you want to play badminton, go and play. If you want to travel to the nearby cities, you travel. No, at the same time, we who are the people who are not grieving, let us also not try to pinpoint or point a finger at them. Oh, di ba? Kamamatay lang ni Nino. Ito na yung ginagawa nila. We try not to do that as well because that is also one way of improving their well-being as well. When we talk about grief, we also try to plan ahead for grief triggers. What do we mean by this? Because, you know, you lost someone or you lost something, or for example, nasunog yung bahay nyo and nag-break kayo, there are significant dates or holidays or other reminders that can trigger feelings related to the loss. So you wanted to prepare ahead. How do you prepare ahead? Probably you don't want to be that lonely on that particular day, so you set up appointment with some people. Probably you make a Zoom meet up with some friends on that particular day, or probably you want to go out and eat together with some friends. In other words, you try to plan ahead for those grief triggers because it will certainly happen. Special dates, no, birthdays, anniversaries, or in other dates that can affect your feelings. Some other pathways to improve your well-being is give yourself a break. How do you do that? Take breaks from grieving. It is okay to not feel sad all the time. It does not mean to say that you don't love that someone anymore or you love that person any less just because you are not grieving. Tell yourself that it is okay to have yourself a break as well. And definitely stop telling or convincing yourself that it is too hard. The more we tell ourselves, it's so hard, hindi ko kaya, napakahirap, then it will become a ruminating thing that you would not be able to come out of it. But you have to also tell yourself, convince yourself that this will get better. I can do it through God's help, no? It's hard right now, but things will get better. So in other words, you also try to not convince yourself that it's very, very hard. And if you need help, ask for help. It's not a sin not to ask. It's not a sin to ask help. So if you need, do ask help as well. Try to understand that when you are going through grieving, there are a lot of people who are afraid to come and approach you because they might be afraid that this is the wrong timing. So a lot of times it will have to be dependent on us ourselves to approach someone as well. Some of the grief rituals that will help. How? Having memorial services, that's why we do that. Having memorial pages. Why? Because this is a way of remembering your loved ones. And this is also a way for understanding how other people value your loved ones as well. And that's the reason why we do have memorial services. And when it comes to grieving, we all need to be patient because grief is a process. You cannot rush it, and it takes baby steps as well to improve. So do not be angry if it is not a big step of a change to or recovery, but be happy and contented even though if it is baby steps. No, and definitely we can come back to God. We should come to God. We need to pray for God's strength, and God will definitely not abandon us. God will surely be with us because He hears the brokenhearted. He knows what you are going through. So these are some of the pathways to improve our well-being when you are going through grief. But there are some myths and facts about grief and grieving. The myth is the pain will go away faster if you ignore it. So some people, they don't want to face the grief. They'll just ignore it and ignore it. Is that good? Definitely not. Trying to ignore your pain or keep it from surfacing will only make it worse in the long run. So for real healing to happen, it is necessary to face your grief and actively deal with it. So, if someone in your family or if your friends are going through grieving, let us not tell them to hide it, to not cry, or to let them move faster. I hope so. I hope we won't do that to them, no? Because grieving is a process. Another myth is that it is important to be strong in the face of loss. Well, in some sense, yeah, we need to be strong, but on the other hand, it is still okay not to be strong, no? Crying doesn't mean you are weak. Feeling sad, feeling frightened or lonely is really a normal reaction to loss. You don't need to put up a brave front showing your true feelings, no? So you can just cry, no? I remember I have another counselee and she was really crying a lot because she lost her mother. And the statement that triggers her a lot is when somebody would tell her, be strong. She doesn't have brothers and sisters here in Manila. It's only herself and her mom. And now that her mom is gone, so friends would tell her, be strong, be strong. She doesn't like it, no? Because she felt she wanted to tell her friends, I'm already very strong. Do you think I'm weak? She took it differently, no? So in times of grief, be strong is not a very good word to use, no? But even though I like the song, be strong, be strong, be strong in the Lord, right? We have to be strong in the Lord indeed, but it is not something that everyone would welcome and take this word nicely. Another myth is that if you don't cry, it means you aren't sorry about the loss. Definitely not so, no? Because crying is a normal response to sadness, but it is not the only way. Those who don't cry may feel the pain just as deeply as others. They may simply have other ways of showing it. No, other people cry more, other people cry less, but it doesn't mean to say those who cry less don't love the other person or don't love the person uh, more, no, or less. So this is a myth as well too. Another myth is that moving on with your life means forgetting about your loss. Definitely not so. Moving on means you have accepted your loss, but that's not forgetting. We still keep the memories of our loved one for sure, no? Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, I hope that you can write it down and on the chat box, and Pastor Jean would later ask your questions, no? Or if you have any inputs, or if you have any other ways that you cope with grieving that I have not mentioned, please feel free to let us know as well. All right. So now let's move on to the next one. When do we seek professional help when it comes to grieving? How would we know that it's time to seek further help? If you don't start to feel better as time passes, then it would be good that you seek some professional help. When I say you don't start to feel better, which means to say after 6 months you still don't feel better, okay, or it has gotten worse, then you would like to seek some help. If you have ongoing difficulty with eating or sleeping, then you would also like to seek some help. If your feelings begin to disrupt your daily life, which means to say, instead of getting better, you don't get better. In fact, you don't have energy to go to work anymore. You don't want to go back to do the things that you used to love doing, then you want to seek some form of help. If you rely on drugs or alcohol to cope with it, yes, definitely you want to seek some help. If you start to think about hurting yourself or others, yes, seek some help. Who will you seek? You can you can seek some form of counseling. That could be one. You can also go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist as well too. No, probably you can also go to your pastors. No, and go to what do you call this, a psychotherapist to talk about it as well. Our NMEC Joyful Hope Counseling Center is here to help you, is here to journey with you in whatever life experiences that you are going through. So do feel free to drop us a note, a line. Do contact us. We are here for you. And this is exactly the reason why the NMAC Joyful Hope has started last year, no, to help cater people who are going through loss or problems or emotional difficulties as well. How are we going to help our children cope with grieving? Is there a different way to talk to them, or is it similar to adults? When it comes to children, we can be straightforward, no? Which means to say, Angkong pass away, or Ama pass away, or a certain aunt pass away, no? We can be straightforward. It is even better because distortions can do lasting harm. For example, if you tell them, oh, Angkong went to sleep, he's gone to sleep forever, that could lead the child to have this fear of going to sleep. Or if you tell them that, God already took Angkong home, and then you wouldn't know that probably the child would start to have this hatred towards God because God took her Angkong home. So let us just be straightforward that everyone has to go through death. It's just that now it's Angkong's time. And so Angkong has been with us for this number of years. We enjoyed him. We thank God for it. Now Angkong has to go home. That's it. No distortions. You can also reassure the children that it's not their fault and they will be taken care of. Because a lot of times, children might think, maybe it's my fault. Maybe because I did not greet Angkong that day, or maybe I didn't do the things that Angkong asked me to do. So you can just reassure that it's not their fault. Do let children participate in the family sorrow and grief. No? A lot of times we are so engrossed with the preparations, the participations of the memorial services, and we forgot about the children. But we would also like to give them an opportunity to express their grief as well. Maybe we also don't want them to participate in the memorial services that we have, but probably at home you can make your own memorial services, no? Or maybe they can draw out the things, no, the memories that they have with Angkong, or what is that one thing that they cannot forget from Angkong. So those are the things that you can also do with your children as well. And give as much attention to the child who cries as to the one who doesn't cry. Again, it is not in the amount of crying that we would know that one is grieving or not. And don't say, you are the man of the house now, or be brave. Did you know that I have a counselee? We spent 3 sessions just allowing him to grieve and cry over the loss of his grandfather and about what his dad told him. His grandfather passed away. The father is an OFW, not here in the Philippines, and so that was the rightful thing the father felt to say to the son. who's 23 years old. And the father said, you are now the man of the house, no? You will have to take care of your mommy and your younger siblings because Lolo is no longer there and I'm not on your side. And he cried and he cried and he cried. Why? Because he felt that the responsibility is too great. He could not handle it. So for the 3 sessions, we spent the time just crying, just talking about processing why he felt so heavy to take on this responsibility as well. It is a big responsibility to tell someone that you are now the man of the house, especially if he feels that he is not ready yet. So, this is some of the ways that we can help our children cope with grief. So, where to seek for support? The natural support system will always be your friends and family members. So, again, you know, people will be angry in the family, people will be high in emotions. This is not the time to be sensy, but this is the time to be more patient and understanding. Of course, you can draw comfort from our faith, from our pastors, from NBEC Joyful Hope. You can join a support group or care group, or you can even talk to a therapist as well. But a reminder is always acknowledge that many people feel awkward when trying to comfort you. No, when you are the one grieving, sometimes they don't know how to comfort you. So if you can reach out to others, that would also be best. But we as friends, there are also certain things that we can do to support them as well. Then this goes on to the next slides. What are the best things to say or do to someone in grief? No? If you have ideas or if you have experiences, what are the best things to say or do to someone in grief? Do let us know what those are. No? I'm only listing down 10. There might be more than 10. So feel free to write what your experiences are. What are the best things to say or do to someone in grief? No? I will go through this quickly. You can say, I am so sorry for your loss. You can be a good listener. No need to talk a lot. Just be a listening ear. You can say, I don't know how you feel, but I'm here to help in any way I can. You can also say, you are in my thoughts and prayers. Or you can share a story. My favorite memory of your loved one is, I remember this is the first time we met, or I remember a time wherein she was so kind to me. This is what she did. I felt so loved. So it is just like a eulogy, but in a story form and personally telling the bereaved party. Next, I am just a text or a call away, or you can say or acknowledge the pain that they're going through, or simply just sit with them or with her without saying much things, no? And again, you can say number 9, similar to number 3, if there's anything I can be of help, do let me know. And usually number 10 is also a good way. Just say nothing or say it with a hug. Okay? So these are just simple 10 things that you can say or do to someone in grief. Now, maybe you have more, let us know so we can add to the list as well. Now, we go to the next slide. The worst things to say to someone in grief. No? Maybe you have also experienced some worst things that they have said to you as well. Oh, by the way, I this once I consulted Ate Merlin Guillermo. She lost her husband. She has spoken on grief as well. And I asked her, what are the things ba that you want people to tell you? Or what are the things that you don't want people to tell you? No? So some of it are from her. No? One of the things that we don't want to say is, at least he lived a long life. No? Even though if they live 90, 95, 100, it's still a loss. So let us not try to use this one that he lived a long life. Or he is in a better place. Well, the phrase he is in a better place would best come from the bereaved family rather than us friends telling them. No? Definitely heaven is a better place than here on earth. But again, losing someone is something very painful. Or she brought this on herself. Oh dear, this is very rude and very unkind to tell people, right? Mali kasi niya eh. Kasalanan din niya eh. Negligent niya eh. That is going to be very painful. Or there is a reason for everything. Of course, we all know there's a reason for everything. Of course, we know God has a purpose why the Lord took our loved ones away, but we don't have to say it out. Another thing that we don't want people to say is that he has been away for years. You're not over with that. You know, even though people, you have already passed the average years of grieving. But again, every person goes through grieving process differently. Some may take longer, some may even take 4 years or 5 years, or they may not fully recover from it. It depends, no? Everyone is different. Another way is you can have another child if that person lost a child, or you can have another wife or husband. No, it's just not proper to say this kind of things. Or she was such a good person, that's why God wanted her to be with him. No matter how good the person is, no matter how godly the person is, definitely we want them to stay longer here on earth to be with us. Or I know how you feel. Or he did what he came here to do and it was his time to go. And probably you have already known what's the words, the phrase that we should not try to say, be strong. Okay? Be strong. So these are just some. Okay? Some may not fully agree 100%. It's okay. We respect each other's opinion. Okay? And you can let us know what are the worst things to say to someone in grief. Now, the topic given to me was mourning into dancing. Can we really turn our mourning into dancing? Can we really turn it into dancing? In Psalm 30, 11, 12, you, referring to God, have turned for me my mourning into dancing. The psalmist is saying that I am grieving, that's why he's mourning, and you have turned it into dancing. Mourning is always related to we lost something or someone. That's why the person is mourning. And dancing in the Bible has always been associated to celebration, to victories. No, when they won a war, they go into dancing as well too. So here, God have turned for me my mourning into dancing. You have put off my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness. Again, sackcloth is a garment used for grieving. And here, the psalmist have said that the Lord have replaced the sackcloth into a cloth with gladness. In fact, the Lord did not transform or change sackcloth into royal robes, no? But it's even better than silk and royal robes, but it's with gladness, something that money cannot buy. And to the end that my glory may sing praise to you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever. Can we turn our mourning into dancing? With our own strength, we probably cannot. But with God, we definitely can. God can take away the anguish of being clothed in sadness and replace it with gladness. In Psalm 30 here, God doesn't stop the psalmist's mourning and make it disappear. When God can do that, the psalmist can say, God, you have turned for me my mourning and you allowed it to disappear. But the Lord did not do that. What did God do? He transforms it into joy. He turns his sorrow into gladness. Brothers and sisters, our sorrows, our financial loss, our tragedies and failures are very, very real. But they are also raw materials that God can use it for a divine transformation. What do I mean by raw materials? God can use your financial loss, God can use the death or the tragedy or the failure to something beautiful. Perhaps through this season of mourning, you would come to know Him deeper. Or maybe you would know how to love others more. Or you would stay away from sinful things. God can use our mourning to accomplish something for His glory. In time, in time, we will dance. For now, it might be difficult, but eventually we will recover. And so, let's have faith that God will do it for us. Did you know that my professor, Dr. Irene Alexander, wrote this book entitled Dancing with God, a transformation through relationship. And this relationship with whom? It's relationship with God. To her, it's through the storms in life that we encounter God more deeply. And when we asked our professor, why such a title? She said, as we dance with God, your feet will not be both up, nor your feet will be both down at the same time. When it comes to dancing, we all know that one foot will be up, the other foot will be definitely down, signifying that in life, there will be definitely ups and downs. And then this is a reality of life that we have to admit. All of us will experience mourning at a certain period in our lives. But even in our mourning, God can transform it into something beautiful as well. But how can we do this? How can we turn our mourning into dancing? God can help us, but we can also do some of the things. You can do some reflection. Try to answer these questions. I hope that you can take a picture later from this page. No, you can write, answer these questions like, what did the person mean to you? You know, when we have memorial services, not every child will be able to have a chance to speak, or not every friend will be able to have a chance to say something. So you can write your own. What did the person mean to you? Is your own eulogy for that particular person. Or you can ask the question, what did you learn from him or her? What are the legacies that this person has passed down to you? Or perhaps it is not a death but a loss of something, no? What good has come from this difficult experience? What good has come when I lost my business? What good has come when I lost my financial stability, or when I lost this relationship? Or you can also ask the question, what have you learned about yourself or other people or life? Probably you have learned that the people you least expected were the ones who helped you the most. Or probably the one that you expected to help was the one who was not there to help you. So these are just some of the reflections that you can do. Are there things you appreciate more? Did you value life more? Did you value relationships more? In what ways have you grown or matured based on this experience? And last, definitely not the least, what is God telling or teaching me in this particular situation? So I hope that as we go through grief, whether it's losing someone or losing something, we will be able to learn something from the experience. As the Bible has said, He can definitely turn our mourning into dancing. And I hope that whatever painful experiences that we are going through, we can learn something from it as well. So that concludes my talk for today. But if you have loved ones whom you are having difficulty in taking care, I want to let you know that I will be having a seminar with the BSOP entitled Ministering to the Elderly. This will be on August 21. And if you want to register, you can email lily.go@bsop.edu.ph. This will be for people who wants to help in the seniors ministry, or even your own family members who are growing in age. we will be discussing about what are the things that we can do, what are the things that will help them much, what are the things that we can make their lives a better place to, right now, a better place to live. Huh? Another thing is that this is not my book. OMF Lit Bookshop came up with a book called The Season of Grief. It is a compilation of prayers, compilation of poems, and also prayers as well and stories. Okay, if you want to avail of this book, do let me know. I can get it for you. All right. It used to have a 20% discount. I don't know whether it still has a discount, but the cost price is 275 pesos. I don't get a peso from here, but you can order it through me. I would like to do my OMF family a favor to help promote their new book as well. No? And again, if you have any counseling needs, do let us know at Joyful Hope, or you can buzz me at my Facebook page, Dr. Joyce Piap Go. And I also have children's books entitled D the B book series. All right, thank you very much. There's 147 participants. Wow, I am blessed to have all of you here with us tonight. All right, so that concludes. And if you have any questions, do feel free to let us know.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joyce, for the very enriching and comprehensive talk tonight. See, konti ilang ang nag-question kasi very comprehensive na yung talk mo. Anyway, just few questions here. You mentioned about ways to cope with grief. There
Mm-hmm.
is one question here that says, are there other ways to cope with grief aside from the ones you have mentioned? If
Ah.
so, can you mention them again?
All right. Okay, that's a very good question, no? But I have given you my all na, no? Those are everything that I have known and I have read. But if you have some more, please feel free to let me know because I will add it up on the list as well too, no? But so far, those are the ones that I have known. Yeah. Uy, ang dami-dami na kaya nun. Huh? Okay? As long as, you don't have to do all. You just choose whatever works for you because everyone is different, no? So whatever works for you. Mhm. Right.
Okay, thank you. I hope the one who sent this question will be happy to find more ways to cope. Okay, here's another question about the stages of grief. Will
Mm.
I go through all 5 stages?
Okay. Normally, people will go through the 5 stages, and that's what Elizabeth Kubler-Ross said. It's just that sometimes people don't stay in one particular stage too long. Okay, for example, the denial. Some people may stay in the denial stage longer. Some people may have already come to accept it because probably the sickness has come longer and become longer and longer. So it's no longer a denial for them. So, according to Elizabeth, yes, you will go through the stages all, but you may not stay in one particular stage too long. And remember, it jumps from one stage to another. But the last stage you really have to go through, which is acceptance, for you to be able to move forward. Mhm.
Okay, okay. Here's a question for, I think, how to deal with kids. How do I know if my kids are coping with their grief? And add to that is, what are signs that the child may need additional support?
Okay. Now, parents, you would definitely be the best judge because you already have seen how your child behaved. So if you notice any changes in what? For example, changes that they are not sleeping well at night, changes in their character or attitude, like they get more irritated, they get to cry more, then you would know that something is not okay. no? But the best way is to check in with them, because children are children. They may be afraid to come to you because you're very busy, you have been crying yourself, so they probably don't want to add burden to you. So as parents, we also have to check in on them, no? And you probably want to let them know, mommy is crying because I miss Angkong, mommy is crying because I miss mama, or what, no? But you can check in with them. No matter what, we are adults, we try to check in with them. And if you notice that it's beyond what you can bear or beyond what you can handle, please let us know, or please let the professional know, and there is definitely help. Mm-mm.
Okay. Another question about children. How should I talk to my children about death, especially when someone we love has died?
Okay, as mentioned a while ago, we can just be straightforward, no? We can just be straightforward to say that, life, as Ecclesiastes have said in the Bible, there is a time to be born and a time to die as well. And so, like you were born, all of us were born, but there will definitely come a time of death. And you can also say that death is because of our sinfulness here on earth. No? And so, to let them understand that there is a beginning, there is an end. It's like a movie that you watch, no matter how beautiful the movie is, a cartoon that you see, there is a beginning, there is a the end. And so, it just so happened that the life of Angkong has now come to the end. And so it doesn't mean to say that Angkong is not important to us, because Angkong will always live in our hearts, in our memories. And that is a good time that you can ask your child, can you tell me one memory of Angkong that you will not forget? Then that is the time when they share the story about the Angkong, then it is like giving a eulogy for Angkong.
Okay. Just wondering if you have any questions. Okay, you may turn your sound to unmute if you want to ask questions. You can
Yeah,
unmute
maybe.
yourself. Yeah, maybe you want to
Yes, you
ask
can.
question directly.
Okay. There is one question here.
Yeah, yeah.
When my dad passed away with COVID, friends and family's love really helped us move on. Although the more irritating question that was asked again and again was, where did he get the COVID? I hope we can all be sensitive and avoid asking this question. True. Remember, when we are going to console people, let us try to be the listening ear. Let us try to be there to listen and comfort them by sometimes not saying anything, by asking the question, how did he get it? Is a chismis, no? Not a comfort anymore, no? So let us try to be sensitive. So actually, when we are comforting people, we try not to ask so much about the what, okay, or who, in this particular case, how, no? But we just want to be in tune emotionally and to just sit in with their grief and their loss. So again, it's not so much in trying to dig out information, but it's trying to give our presence, our love to them. Thank you for sharing that one. Mhm.
Okay, here's another question. It says, what are some concrete ways on how I can help a friend through digital means? Maybe because we are in pandemic and we cannot really meet people. So the
Mhm.
question is, how can I help a friend through digital means who is grieving or just lost someone?
Okay. Uh, Digitally, you can still reach out to them. But this is also a time wherein you don't want to call at any time because they might be busy. So you can just say, again, similar to the times that I said, you can let them know digitally that you are here if they need anything. You can offer prayers, no? No need to ask how or why or what happened. No, if I pray for people who have COVID, I will just offer my prayer. I would not want to ask, what happened now, or what's the update right now. We don't need to ask for those. You are here to comfort them. So just like any face-to-face thing that we would do, you just let them know that I am here. I'm just a call away. Anything I can help and support, I just want you to let you know that I'm here, because we cannot do much, right? So virtually, you can just text. Another way of showing your love and your care is you send them ayuda, food, because they would all be very busy. You can send them some food. No, you can send them some care packages as well too. So those are some of the things that we can do, even though if we cannot meet them face to face.
Talking about kids a while ago, here's a question. We often hear people tell kids, we have another angel in heaven watching over us. This does not seem biblical. Is this okay to say this to a child for comfort?
Because it is already not biblical, we do not want to use it. But the Lord did say that there is an angel, that the Lord sent angels to watch over us. No? So we just say what is the truth. And we don't have to use the angel in heaven, because God is already there in heaven. We might as well say that our loved ones is in heaven with God. No? So am I answering the right question, Jean?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All
Okay.
right.
This one is kind a little bit medyo mahaba konti. I just
Okay.
lost my mother. My
Okay.
family dynamics has changed since then. Like my family is closer now than when my mom was here. Our house is also more well kept as my mother is not a good housekeeper. I miss
Mhm.
my mom a lot, and I hope
Mhm.
I can undo time and let her come back, even if our house will be messy again. So I'm enjoying our family relationship now and our well kept house, but I'm coming to terms with the positive things that have happened versus my grieving and missing my mom. I feel
Mm.
guilty that my mom's passing has benefits. Any thoughts on this?
Okay. Guilt is always part of grieving, as well as we have mentioned a while ago. No, guilt will always be there. Actually, you can always look at it two ways. You can look at it that I'm guilty about it, and you can also look at it what she has done for you. I am sure you missed her, as you have said, but this is a positive thing that came out. And so, do not take it as a guilt. Take it that even in her passing, she has been teaching you things still. Or even in her passing, she wants to contribute happiness to your life still. So look at it that way, so that you wouldn't feel that bad. Because honestly, if you look at it, what a great legacy, what a great help, no? Even sa pagkawala niya, tinutulungan pa rin niya tayo. So that is the view or the outlook that we need to have.
Okay, Pastor Joyce,
Yes, I'm here.
can you hear me? Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I can, but there's
Okay. Yeah,
a
like
sound, no?
nakamute. Maybe
All
can
right.
it's sorry, muted. Okay.
Uh-uh.
How can one prepare oneself to face the reality of death? Because it's something that nobody seems to want to face or even think about. But death is something very real and will happen sooner or later to either ourselves or our loved ones. How
Okay.
can we
Sad
prepare?
to say. Okay. Sad to say, no matter how much we prepare, we will never be prepared. We will never be that prepared, because, losing someone is really very, very hard. Probably we would prepare ourselves in many different ways, no? Preparing the things, preparing the something. And this, if you want to know more about this, come and attend the ministering to the elderly on August 21, for my course, no, for my seminar on August 21 at BSOP. We will be talking more about that, no, how to prepare. But yet again, no one can be fully prepared for it.
Okay.
It's
Here's
still a
another,
grieving process. Okay.
yeah, here's another question about guilt. Okay, this is a question from a mother who lost her 9-year-old daughter with,
Mm,
okay, the daughter fell down from their balcony. She was rushed to
mm,
the hospital and passed away after 2 days. She
mm,
felt guilt about what happened because they were not able to lock the balcony door, and her
mm.
husband blamed her for the negligence. So people told her that she doesn't have to blame herself, but how can I remove the guilt? She's asking, how can I remove the guilt? Did God allow my negligence to really get my child at that time? People say it was God's purpose and He allowed that because it's her time to go.
Okay. We would, number one, yes, you are feeling guilty. And with this guilt, whoever you are, you need to forgive yourself as well too. No one is perfect. No one expected that to happen. Who in their right mind would think that, who in their right mind would allow this to happen? No one would. Definitely not you as a mother, no? So you need to forgive yourself. And I hope that your husband would not torture you by saying that this is your fault, no? Perhaps your husband, in order to cope with his own grief, has to blame someone for him to feel better. Because we can also say, why are you blaming me? Why were you not there too at the moment of her falling down? Where were you? Right? We can also blame that to the husband. But we are not here to have a blaming game, because we know that blame is another defense mechanism. No, that's why I said that in grieving, an emotion that is so present is usually anger, because anger is not there for anything else, but it is to cover our pain, to replace the pain, and so we diversified it into anger. If you look at it in a different perspective, the mother said that my daughter had severe asthma, severe autism, I should say, and had an accident and fell down the balcony. The mere fact that he has autism and you said that it is severe, probably the child did not know what is best for her and not. So in other words, there is a difficulty in judgment call, and probably that could be the reason why she fell down. True, you could have locked the balcony to have avoided it, but it already happened. In other words, we also cannot bring back your daughter's life already. And if she is not autistic, then these things would not have happened as well too. So in other words, if we keep on staying on the blaming stage, then we would not be able to move forward. The husband and the wife both have to accept that it already happened. We cannot bring back her life. We tried the very best as parents as we could, but no matter how good a parent we are, there are lapses like this one. And so it is not something that we need to carry for life. This guilt that we need to carry for life, it will not be very healthy for you. No? And if you want to talk more about this guilt, you come in for counseling and we can talk more extensively for that one.
Okay. Okay, this question is about a grieving person who used to be, who is actually an outdoor sports person, who go biking, who go swimming. But then the question is, how can he um, go back to his normal routine during grieving period when we are all under pandemic times?
Okay, so I understand this person loves outdoor life right now. A good way sana for him to go out, no, is to go out and do things. But right now, pandemic cannot. Okay, true. But there are also areas, no, in Manila where you can go and do some of your running, cycling, and not having so many people around. You can do it like earlier in the morning, no? So, kumbaga pa, you can make do with your schedule to be able to do it. Or maybe you can have a more, ano tawag nito, a little bit outskirt, no? Not within the city, and find a place. Or probably Maybe I always see Wilma and Sam having some escapades in the boondocks, no? It seems there's no people there. Probably we can also ask them where they are going, and probably this person can hook up with them and go and experience having those kind of rides outside the city as well. But there is I mean to say there are still places that we can go, no? Probably you may not have it at a long time like the way you wanted it the whole afternoon, but probably shorter time, but still you can try it, you know, you can have it still. And I would encourage you to do that too.
Okay, this question, actually you mentioned this during your talk, but maybe we can uh, answer again. When a
Mm.
person is experiencing grief, what are the indications that the person need professional help?
All right. If the grieving does not if the grieving does not diminish as the days go by, in other words, as the days go by it has worsened, no, then we call that a complicated grief, and so you wanted to seek some form of counseling. If you have already thought of harming yourself, no, like for example, sana nagkasabay na lang kami namatay and all those, no, you also want to seek professional help. Or if you have not been sleeping well, eating well, and you're not able to go back to your routine in life, then you would like to seek some form of help. How long? How long? Microphone not muted, no? How long? Probably give yourself 6 months, no? If it persisted to having anxieties and not sleeping well, then I would say that you seek some form of professional help. Sometimes you don't even have to wait until 6 months. If you feel that you're having difficulty in going back to the routine, you know, do say so. Okay, do say so right away. The sooner that you admit it, that you need help, the sooner you would be helped.
Okay. I'm gonna read this question. Okay.
Mm.
My husband suddenly died. Okay. Is
Nakakatawa
it
to. Basahin
is
mo
it
yung question. Tapos basahin mo yung message ni... Wait. Message
Oh, we
okay.
can hear you talking. Kindly mute your microphones if you're not asking a question. Huh? We can hear you. We can hear
Okay.
your secrets. Mm.
Okay. My husband suddenly died. Is it okay to ask God and my husband to come and talk to me? Also, my mom has been asking about my husband since he hasn't seen him in a while and she is already 100. Is it okay for us to keep her away from the truth? For we are afraid that she might take it strongly and affect her
Health.
health. Yeah.
Okay. To your number one question, is it okay to ask God and my husband to come and talk to me? I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that. And I don't think God would allow you to as well, too. No? All right. Okay, number two is if you don't want to tell your mom because she's already 100 years old, it's very understandable. You don't have to. Okay, now let's go back to the first question. If there are some of the things that you want to tell your husband that you're not able to say, I would suggest you type it, write a letter, dear husband, and then tell her in that letter. Pour it out in that letter. Writing a letter to someone that you love, no, na at nawala, is a therapeutic thing. So you can do that, no? So no need to ask God to ask your husband to come and talk to you. You can talk to your husband by writing a letter. Okay? Your husband definitely will not reply you. Okay? But it will already be therapeutic for you to write it down. You want to hear the audible sound of your husband, or to hear his opinion, or to hear what his suggestions would be. You know, I would believe that God will give you the wisdom and the discernment to know what is the next best thing to do in life. God will definitely see you through. God cares for all the widows. Believe that God will be there with you.
Okay. What if somebody has dedicated all her time and everything on the person that passed away? So her normal everyday routine is all spent on that someone. And she sees her on every corner of the house. So how do we help her?
Okay. Some people, they don't want to stay in the same place if the same place brought about a lot of memories. No, probably you want to have a break. Probably you want to go and live with someone else, maybe for a month or two, and then come back again. That is allowable. No, another way is that this will serve as a lesson for all of us here, because she mentioned that throughout her life, no, she has been with this particular person. It seems that her life is revolved around one person only. So this is not the healthiest of health, because we need to be revolving ourselves with more people, not just one. That means to say we would have more support group or more support system in that particular case. But no matter what it is already there. She is already in that particular situation. Then it's now her time to build up new relationships with other people. And I believe it will not be too late. But it would always be healthier if we have built up relationships, not just with one, but with more. In other words, we revolve ourselves with more people. I am suspecting that this particular person is the designated caregiver of their loved one. And that is also another thing that we will talk in ministering to elderly. Is that the best thing to do? Is that the wisest thing to do? What are the other things that we can do? So I hope that you can register my class on August 21. Plug in ako ng plug in, Jean. No? Halata ba?
Okay lang, okay lang. Pwede na, pwede naman.
Oy, by the way, those who wanted to get the book, The Grief of OMF, you can buy it to give it to someone else. No, you can buy it to read for yourself as well. But this is also a book that can also help OMF. No, I'm not an author for this book, but I just want to help them sell the book as well. It's 275 per book. I do not know whether there will be discounts. I think I can get you discounts. No, I just don't know
So
how much.
we can order from you, Joyce, Pastor
Yes,
Joyce. Yeah.
order it from me and then I'll collate all the order and then submit it to OMF. Kaya lang, you have to tok it, All right? Or I can drop all to the church and you don't bother church people. I'll just tok it directly to you. Okay?
Balik tayo
Yeah.
dito.
All right. Okay.
There are days when I understand God's sovereignty over my dad's life, but there are days when I still feel anger towards God because he could have easily healed my dad, yet he did
True.
not. Because
Okay.
of COVID, we were also not able to be there in his final moments. I feel guilty for my anger towards God, but I can't help it sometimes.
Okay, this is a very honest feelings, no, that the person is saying. This is so true, and actually, COVID has made grieving more difficult because grieving could have been easier if we are able to say a proper goodbye to our loved ones, no, if we're able to give more time, more help, more together time, it will help us. But since we did not have the chance, it became harder for us. Now, true, you understand sovereign will of God, but true, there are moments that you question and wonder why and you get upset. When it comes to grieving, it is really like, what do you call this? Volume dial. It is not a switch that is on and off. On, I'm grieving. Off, I'm not grieving. No. It is a volume dial, which means to say there are certain days that you feel the grieving more than other days. And there are certain days the volume dial is softer, that you're able to manage, you're able to laugh, you're able to attend parties, watch Korean telenovela, you're able to do your normal things, no? So that is the what do you call this? That is life. It is not a switch on and off. It is a volume dial. That's why I mentioned that we need to watch out for trigger dates, no? Trigger dates that will remind us of our loved ones. We need to prepare for it as well too.
With your counseling experience, do Christians cope fairly well with grief compared to non-Christians or other religions, like shorter grief period? If so, does counseling involve sharing gospel to the counselees?
Okay, all right. Based from my counseling experience, it is not based on religion. It is usually based on your own personal coping skill. No? But I would like to say, because if you look at the Buddhism, no, or the other religion, they feel that they can do something to compensate it, no. So that's another thing. In Christianity, definitely we have what do you call this? The reality is that we will be able to see them again in heaven. That's really a great comfort to us. But whether they will be able to get out of the cycle, grieving cycle faster, no, it is a personal thing on how you cope with it. No, the other question, Jean, is what gani? Sorry, what's the other question?
Uh, does
The last
counseling
one.
involve sharing gospel to
All right,
counselees?
all right, okay. Personally, for me, it is so hard to have a dividing line whether I should be a Christian and I should not be a Christian in my counseling. But when there is an opportunity for me to share the gospel, I will have to do it. No? But if, to tell you a very specific example, I had this client, day one, he would tell me, pero naririnig ka namin. No camera, pero naririnig ka namin. So, based from my experience, I have this particular client. Day one, he told me, I am an atheist, no? So don't share religion to me. So that's very clear, no? So when we counseled, I never brought God in. But at the point in life when he was having a great difficulty in his life, he asked me, how can I cope with this situation of mine? And so I told him, you have to go back to God. For me, that is my answer. And so he listened. I shared the gospel. He accepted the Lord as his Savior. So, in other words, if there is an occasion for me to share the gospel, I will share the gospel. Because honestly, after processing them, after giving them and helping them with the coping skills, I have to return them back to God because only God can truly help them 24/7. I cannot. Their family members cannot. They have to cling or they have to plug in to the right source of strength and help, which is the Lord God Almighty. I cannot be that person for them all their life. Only God can. So it is my duty and responsibility in every opportunity that I can, I would share the gospel.
Okay, this is the last question. Okay. When will a bereaved person feel better, and how can I support someone when I myself am grieving too?
Say that again, Jean.
Okay. When will a bereaved person feel better? And then how can I support someone when I am grieving too?
Okay. The first question, when? It's so hard to answer when, no? It's a cycle. It can range from 6 months to 2 years or even more. It depends on that particular person. If you want to grieve faster, not faster naman, if you want to improve in your grieving, try to follow the things that we mentioned a while ago, no, like you pour it out, you cry it out, you express it out in creative ways, try to find a support group. Definitely praying to the Lord will help, and try to go back to the routine that you have. Those will definitely help. What if both of us are grieving? Okay, this is definitely interesting, no? For example, siblings are grieving together. So if I'm grieving, how can I help? This would also be a very good support system, no? Then both of you cry together. Both of you talk about your loved ones together. Both of you reminisce the things that you have done together. It would be helpful, no? she's crying, you are crying. Okay, let us reminisce now. What did mom do to us, no, when we were children? What is one thing that you cannot forget what mom did to you? Then you start talking about it, you know. By talking about, by having those good memories, it will make you feel better.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joyce, for answering all the questions and of course for the very rich and comprehensive talk tonight. I hope our participants got a lot of help from your talk tonight. So again, Dr. Joyce mentioned about joyful hope. So if you need counseling, you can go to our Joyful Hope Facebook page and you can leave a message and I will get in touch with you. So don't worry, only Dr. Joyce and I nakakaalam kung sino kayo. So do not be afraid to go for counseling if you need one. Okay, so may I request our senior pastor, Reverend Dr. Natulis, sabihin ko, Reverend Jason Ko, to give us a closing prayer.
Okay, shall we close with a prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we praise you because you are the God of all comfort. You not only know what we are going through, but you also understand every emotion, every grief, every sorrow, because you yourself have walked among us. Father, you do not only understand what we go through, you also turn our mourning into dancing. You transform our grief into joy, and you turn what others meant for evil into something that will be good for us. For you love us, and you have our best interests at heart. Father, we pray for all those who are watching, who are undergoing a season of grief in their life. May your peace continue to surround their heart and comfort them with a peace that transcends all human understanding. Father, we also pray that your presence will continue to heal their pain and their grief, for you only can feel that loss in their life. Father, we pray also for all those of us that we may be sensitive as we minister to those who are grieving. Father, thank you for tonight, for helping us understand this topic. May you bless each one. And this is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.